Hello, my name is Rosy Aronson, and I have the great pleasure of partnering with Richard Rudd in relation to the Dream Arc project. Now, so far I've been working behind the scenes making art for what will one day become some kind of an oracle deck. And I've also been editing with my husband Kim a few Dream Arc related videos, each featuring Richard and one of the 3 Dream Arc realms: the fear keys, the vision keys, and the life keys. Now, eventually, Richard and I will be sharing even more about ourselves and this multifaceted project and how we imagine it unfolding and evolving over time, hopefully with your participation. But for now, I thought it would be nice to just come out of my little cave and share a bit about the art process that I've been engaged in over the past many months. So the first thing I want to say is how delightful it has been to work with Richard. He is just a truly lovely human being with, as many of you know, infinite knowledge and creativity and wisdom and a poetic spirit and a very, very big heart. So I'm really enjoying our co-creative powwows. And I feel really excited about what we've been incubating and about the different roles that we envision ourselves playing going forward. So far, this has been a particularly fun project for me because I tend to do a lot of writing in my everyday life, and in relation to the Wisdom Keepers Oracle deck, for those of you who are familiar with that, I did both the art making and the writing. But this time, at least in the beginning phase of this project, I have had the incredible luxury of being able to just drop into right brain world and focus completely on the art making process. And I've been able to do that knowing that Richard Rudd, it really doesn't get any better than that, has been devoting his time and energy and genius to channeling wisdom and messages from the animal king and queendom into written word. So just knowing that Richard has that aspect of the project more than covered has really let me just relax and enter a very nonlinear space. It's allowed me to pay attention to my dreams and to the animal encounters in my everyday life, which have been especially interesting now that my family's moved to Santa Fe, New Mexico, and just to play around and experiment in my little art cave. Now, one of the most important agreements that I made with myself when I said yes to Richard's invitation to join him on this adventure, which was, and I can't even believe this already, about 3 years ago when we were in Findhorn, Scotland for a Gene Keys related retreat, was that no matter what doubts and fears my mind threw at me, and it was going to do that, that I was going to trust his intuitive impulse to reach out to me as a partner and to trust the strong intuitive yes that I felt in response to his invitation. And you could say that the Dream Arc is all about the intuition. It's all about learning to trust the intuition more and more in our lives. And honestly, I cannot think of a time in my life or on the planet when it has been more important for all of us to learn how to trust the intuition, or how to just elegantly cut through the constant and conflicting barrage of fear-inducing information that we're being presented with on a daily basis in order to connect with a deeper source of truth and guidance. So I suppose it makes sense that one of my deepest intentions in relation to the stage of the Dream Arc journey has been to dare to allow my own intuition to guide me through the art process and not to get stuck in this idea that I'm supposed to be some kind of professional, fabulous illustrator here to produce something that matches some kind of external expectation, whether that expectation was my projection of what Richard, my creative partner, might want from me, or what I imagine other people who are drawn to the Dream Arc, and there are a lot of you already out there, what you might be hoping for, or what my own judging critical mind might deem as worthy of this project or not. So really, just remembering to be deeply permission-giving and gentle with myself has been such a big theme in this process. So on a daily basis, I'm reminding myself, keep it simple, trust my in-the-moment impulses, remember to have fun and stay connected to this current of creativity inside of me, and just to breathe through my mind's tendencies to overthink and be way too hard on myself. So basically, you could say I've been doing my best to receive and embody the invitation, which is the Dream Arc, this giant collective invitation asking all of us who are drawn to it to trust, to surrender, to pay attention to the ways in which our outer environment and inner voices are speaking to us all of the time, and to engage in the profound art of sacred play. Okay, so on to the arts process more specifically. So first of all, as you may already know, if you've been reading some of Richard's writing about the Dream Arc, or you've seen the other 3 videos that we released over these past months, each of the 64 cards that will be in the Dream Arc deck won't just have 1 animal on them, but 3. So 1 is going to represent the creatures of the underworld, or the fear keys. 1 will represent the winged beings of the upper world, the birds or the vision keys. And then 1 animal will represent our mammalian family members, the middle world or life keys. And Richard shares so beautifully about each of these realms in the 3 videos that we've created. So I'm not going to get into that here. You can totally check those out. But I will say that for me, this meant drawing or painting 192 animals. And it also meant finding a way to honor the essence of each of the animals while bringing a current of consistency to the 3 realms or keys. So one of the first intuitive hits that I received was to treat each of the realms or keys differently. For each realm, I wanted to choose a modality that felt somehow connected to the shared essence of the realm or that particular family of beings. So for the creatures of the underworld or the fear keys, my intuition led me to choose charcoal on Tibetan rice paper. I chose to use earth tones, oranges, browns, reds, blacks, grays, which I realized over time allowed the drawings to look as if they'd been creating out of earth and onto earth. And I wanted the drawings to be and feel textured and to be simple, almost like the original cave drawings, and then to speak directly to our original nature. Now, one particular challenge with the underworld creatures was the incredible diversity within this particular realm, this hidden realm. Because in the underworld, we've got insects with 2 wings, insects with 8 legs, creatures with no limbs at all. We've got fish and crabs and sharks and seahorses and plankton, right? We've got lizards, we've got worms, we've got snakes, we've got slugs, ticks. And even though many of the creatures live inside of and on the earth, many live inside of the sea and many fly in the sky. And many of these creatures in reality are incredibly colorful and luminous. So it was in honor of this luminosity and diversity that I felt compelled to include white. Because white light contains all wavelengths of visible light. It includes all of the colors of the rainbow. And I'm really hoping that even though the underworld creatures were created in earth tones, that all of their colors are still shining through energetically through the white. Now, when it came time to create the birds, I felt called to use watercolor. Remember, the birds are connected to the vision keys, right? They bring messages to us from beyond. So I wanted to use a modality that was transparent, that allowed light and the sacred language of light to pour through it, almost like stained glass. And the birds, they have this capacity to see through things, right? They can peer through water when in flight. They can see what's happening down in the valley when they're at the peak of the mountaintop. They bring vision down through the veil into our awareness. And sometimes we're not just dealing with one veil, we're dealing with layers upon layers of veils. Boy, is that the case these days. So for me, watercolor is the perfect medium for both showing the layers and inviting us to peer through them into the light of the matter, into the light of the being, whether that being is ourselves or another being. Now, I really went through a process when it came to creating the mammals, or those who belong to the middle world, those who represent the life keys. Now, the main intuitive message that I received from the beginning was that I needed to create the mammals in a way that would allow me or us to feel instantly connected to them. I wanted them close up and personal. So eye contact was like my highest priority. Because as my daughter reminds me on a daily basis, I am a mammal, right? We humans are mammals. And even though there are qualities that differentiate humans from the mammalian kingdom, queendom, we are a family. And it was that intimacy, that recognition of kinship that held my hand through the process of bringing the middle worlders through. Now, to my great surprise, and thanks to my husband's encouragement, Kim, I ended up feeling called to experiment with our family iPad. So Kim introduced me to a program called Procreate, which I had never used before in my entire life and honestly felt extremely intimidated by, especially in the beginning. But now I can kind of see how perfect it was to use an artistic instrument that could have only been created by us human beings. Now, one thing this modality really allowed me to do was work in layers and to experiment. I could zoom way in, I could go way out, right? I could try all kinds of things out and then erase them if I didn't like them. So the modality was also so new to me that it let me kind of stay connected to a feeling of freedom and playfulness and to make lots of mistakes, which I think acted as a really healthy counterbalance to some of those pressures that I tend to feel to make really good art, which, as many of you probably know, can be the death of any fulfilling art process. So over time, I got the hang of it and really started enjoying the process of inviting out the middle worlders one at a time. And I realized more and more just how important it was for me that the mammals be easy to relate to, easy to connect with, and that they not be so mysterious. What mattered to me was the bonding potential between me and these beings, and maybe between you and these beings. And I was willing to risk making some of them a little too cute, despite my more sophisticated artist self that kept warning me of that possibility. And I don't know, maybe it's because intuitively I just felt that one of the great potentials of the middle world is to help us open our hearts. You know, there's a reason why people are constantly obsessing over YouTube videos of cats and dogs and bunny rabbits. And while not all mammals are of the cuddly sort and some are very fierce and awe-inspiring, I didn't want to deny the fact that we can recognize ourselves in these beings. And there's an incredible power in looking into the eye of another being and feeling their presence, feeling their innocence, and feeling that we're family, that we're brothers and sisters, that we can love each other deeply and allow our hearts to just melt in each other's presence. Now, you may notice that I also added a subtle symbol in the third eye of each of the mammals, each with its own meaning. And I may make another video where I share a little bit more about that process, but that was super fun for me to do too. Now, one last thing I want to say is that this is the first time I've ever partnered with someone in a project like this. So it's a real learning curve for me. You know, there are aspects of a partnership with someone as phenomenal as Richard, as I shared earlier, that are just like pure nirvana. Everything becomes so much easier because we're in it together. And of course, I've also had my moments when I found myself wondering, you know, oh my God, is Richard going to like what I'm doing? How well does this match the branding of the Gene Keys? How is the Gene Keys community going to resonate with the artwork? You know, how can I stay true to my intuitive impulses and somewhat psychedelic tendencies or aesthetics while honoring Richard's love of subtlety and sophistication? You know, how can I keep the images versatile and simple enough to use in a variety of contexts and inspire a deck with a playful potential? Like, you know, how do we get 3 images on one card and still have them be easy to relate to or see? You know, you get the idea. But mostly I want to say that I'm learning so much from this experience, and I'm very grateful to be going through it with Richard, who has been, you know, loving and enthusiastically supportive, as well as open and honest about the ways in which he might prefer a little change here and there. And it's a dance. So far, it's a dance I'm loving, and I really hope and look forward to, in the not so distant future, that you are going to be inspired to start dancing with us. So there you go, a few words from me, and I hope you've enjoyed getting a little sense of what's been brewing in Rosy's Dream Arc Cave, and I look forward to connecting with you again in the future. All my love.